Good afternoon or good evening, 6th graders, depending on what time you are watching your Edmodo video. Today we're going to talk about the different pieces of equipment that you will be using during our science investigations this year. And we're going to go ahead and start with our glassware. Okay, we have a couple different things here. We're going to start with our beakers. You can see that our beakers come in a variety of sizes. I have even larger ones than these, and beakers are for putting our liquid inside and heating it up. You can use these to heat liquids, and you can use these to pour. If you notice, they have this nice little lip on the top that is an easy pour spout that you can use for our liquids depending on what size that you need. Our second piece of glassware is back this way, and we call this one the Erlenmeyer flask. And you might be noticing that the top of this one looks very different from the beaker. The top of this one is very narrow. There's no spout on the top, and this one is for if you're going to heat anything that might be boiling or a chemical that you don't want to spill out. So they make this top narrow so that if things start to boil up, it's going to have a harder time getting out of this long neck that this Erlenmeyer flask has. Our final piece of measuring tools is up here, and these would be our graduated cylinders. It might be a little hard to see. I'm going to put them down here. There we go. Graduated cylinders. You will probably use these the most out of any of our measuring equipment, and again, I have many sizes, and these ones are kind of skinny, so depending on how much liquid you need, these ones have very accurate measurements on them. So if I bring one a little closer, you might be able to see they've got little lines, there we go, little lines on them in milliliters, and you would simply count how many milliliters that you would need to measure. So again, these are our graduated cylinders. I'm going to put these back with all of our glassware. If you do need to take a temperature of something, of course we're going to use a thermometer, and you can just put that in whenever you need it. And our thermometers read in Celsius, so we'll be learning later how to convert Fahrenheit temperatures to Celsius. I mentioned heating liquids in many of these pieces of equipment, and what you would use to heat a liquid would either be a hot plate, which I don't have in front of me, but I'll show you one of those later. But on your homework sheet, it's going to ask you about this thing here, and this is the Bunsen burner. You're actually not going to use these this year, but what happens with a Bunsen burner is you would take this tube and hook it into the side here of your Bunsen burner, and then the other end of the tube would be put into our gas. We actually have a gas valve in my classroom, but this end in the back you hook up to the gas valve and you turn it on. And in order to get your Bunsen burner to work, you need something called a striker. Here's a striker, and if you can see real close, if I push the striker hard enough, you'll see a spark. Maybe not. There you go, there was a good one. And you simply hold this up here, you get your spark, and then again, if the gas is on, you're going to get a flame. So that's our Bunsen burner. And how you would work your Bunsen burner is you would use this ring stand. And it's called a ring stand. You can see on the top, it's in the shape of a ring. All right. And you would put this piece of mesh on. And so you could put your graduated cylinder up here to sit, and then underneath you would have your burner with your flame, and you would be able to heat your liquid without touching the flame to the glass. So that is our Bunsen burner and our ring stand. A couple of pieces of equipment that you would use to pick things up with. Of course, gloves you're going to have on all the time, but these are our tongs, and you can see they have a really wide base, and what that is for is so that the tongs will fit around your beakers, and they have rubber so that they stick and the glass won't slip through. So if something's hot, you're going to use the tongs to move your beakers. So these are your tongs. And the other piece of equipment we have, let's move up this way. Okay, these little guys here are test tubes. Test tubes. And usually they have a stand that you can set them in because they can't stand up on their own. But test tubes, you put very small amounts in. But these here kind of look like the tongs, but these are test tube holders. And you can see the ends are kind of shaped to fit just perfect. There we go. Around a test tube. So they're a lot smaller than our tongs. So we have test tube and test tube holders. We have a funnel. If you're going to use a funnel, is to pour liquids so that you don't spill anything. You could set your funnel inside of one of our graduated cylinders. You could use a funnel. Well, it doesn't fit in there, but I have bigger funnels. But this is just so that you don't spill anything. And our last piece of equipment that is on your homework assignment is over this way. And we call this our scale or our balance. I believe you'll see it written both ways, but you can put something on your scale here, and you're going to have to, we'll learn this later, but you move all three of these over. It's kind of like the one at the doctor's office that they slide to figure out exactly how much mass something has. So this is our scale. What I would do now is you can stop the video, you can rewind it to go back and look to match up your homework, but on the back of your homework it asks you what all of these pieces of equipment are used for and what makes them different and special from the others. So please make sure you keep this video up and you can rewind it and listen to it again, because these items here, your beaker, your graduated cylinder, and your Erlenmeyer flask, have very similar uses, and so your homework gets very specific. So rewind if you need to hear what these are for again. And also your tongs and your test tube holders have very similar answers as well. So use this video as you need it. I hope you enjoyed our first flipped classroom assignment, and I'll expect those papers from you very soon.